I noticed that Dr. Keith Taylor is on the call right now, and I think this would be a great time for you, Keith, to introduce yourself and explain why you're here and all the exciting news about your run for City Council uh, 9 to replace the seat currently held by Perkins.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. And I want to say hello to everybody who is on this Zoom call. My name is Keith Taylor, and I am running for City Council District 9. I have been a community activist for many years. My family came here over 100 years ago from Barbados, looking for a better way of life, and they found it here in Harlem. And so I feel very, very strong ties to this neighborhood that I love and live and work in. I have been a block association president since 2005. Dorrance Brooks Residents and Property Owners, Property and Residents Owners Association. And we have really worked hard on doing things like holding observances for the Harlem Hellfighter during the 100th anniversary of the armistice signing in 2018, where we had the French consul and representatives from the military, including the commanding officer at 369th, and many other individuals participate in recognition of the great heroic history and tradition of the people of Harlem, particularly the Harlem Hellfighters. Our association has also worked to preserve the community by funding efforts to have our neighborhood landmarked and placed on the National Register of Historic Places. We have had the area designated as a state historic district and as a federal on the National Register of Historic Places, and the Dorrance Brooks Historic District, which is around Dorrance Brooks Square on 136 in Edgecombe, St. Nicholas, was calendared about a week ago to be considered for a city historic landmark district. And I'm proud to say it'll be the first one to be named after an African-American out of the 141 that have been previously designated. A little bit about myself. I am a adjunct professor of criminology at John Jay College, and I teach courses on everything from introduction to corrections. I teach police officers about policing in a multicultural and multi-ethnic city. I'm teaching courses now on sex offenders in the criminal justice system. And so as the presenter was talking, I was relating well to this idea of transnational crimes around human trafficking and vice, crimes that are that organized criminal organizations that span across nations definitely continue to do. And so I'm running for city council because I want to bring my experiences, my dedication to the community, and really my love for Harlem to the district council, to the city council office, to the District 9 city council office. I have been on community board 10 for 12 years. And I actually just got off the Zoom call where I was hosting the Landmarks and Transportation Committee meeting. And I've had a number of different roles in Community Board 10. I was first vice chair of the Economic Development Committee, Public Safety Committee. And so I don't want to bombard you with information, but I have definitely had the good fortune of having a lot of useful experiences in preparation for a role as the city council member. My formal education, I've got a doctorate in education from Columbia Teachers College. I have two masters, one from the Naval Postgraduate School and one from City College of New York. In my alma mater is Howard University. I graduated, I think, a year or two after our vice president. Very proud of that. And before I was an adjunct professor, I spent 2 years as an assistant commissioner for the Department of Corrections in charge of their intelligence bureau, dealing with gang violence and preventing it within the Rikers correction system. And I spent 23 years as a law enforcement professional, NYPD, in various different capacities. Before that, I spent 3 years as a caseworker at Harlem Dowling Children's Services, right on 125th Street and 7th Avenue, working on reunifying families that were dealing with, back then, addiction to crack and losing their children because of it. And so my role as caseworker was to help stabilize their life and help them get their children back. And so I have a real concern about making certain that our community gets everything that it needs in terms of the pandemic, the various types of efforts that are being made to save people's lives, the public safety issues that are constant and consistent in our community, the issues around police community relations, making certain that we not only get the protection that we need, but we also get the respect that we deserve as a community. The same respect that any other community would not even think twice about getting. And so I live in Harlem with my family, my lovely wife and 2 children who are teenagers. And I have been actually since March on mission with the New York Guard up at Camp Smith, helping to support the National Guard as they conducted various humanitarian efforts to help people in Harlem and the rest of the state. And I will have completed a year next month. So I'm running for city council because I believe that my knowledge, skills, and abilities will provide the best solutions for Harlem to make it through the challenging times. We've got a tremendous number of very difficult situations that we're going to have to deal with as a community. And my experience, the depth and breadth as a city manager, as a operational individual working in law enforcement for so many years, as a community member. I've been the board chair of a number of different organizations, such as the Harlem Independent Living Center, which is a disability rights advocacy organization for the past 30 years. I was the founding board chair for Pillars, which is a holistic recovery support organization. I am the treasurer for the board of trustees for a charter school in the Bronx, which is a STEM school. And so I try to keep active, providing my skills to everyone that I can. And so I will stop at this point. I know I've gone on for probably like 20 minutes, but I would like very much to let people know who I am and what I'm about. And I'm not a career politician in the least. I'm just, a community organizer and activist. And if I may, my webpage is tailormadeforharlem.com. And it talks quite a bit about my platforms, what I would like to do to not only make Harlem stable, but to make sure that we improve as a community into the future. So thank you.
Well, that's just great. Thank you so much, Keith. Let's just open it up. Does anyone have any questions for Keith?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you for your service, Keith, and I like your speech. Look forward to your candidacy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Abasi. Thank you. Um, One of the things that I want to make sure is that I provide plenty of opportunities for people to talk to me so I can listen and find out what their particular concerns are about. I'm going to be having Zoom meetings. We'll schedule them on my webpage where I'll open them up to anybody who wants to go and talk to me and ask questions about what I'd like to do to make Harlem better, and also just to find out what their concerns are. Harlem's got a lot of people in it, and we've got a lot of different issues, and they need to be well represented in city council. So, I've been a member of the Greater Harlem Coalition since pretty much its inception, and I've known Sean and the tremendous work that he and many others have done to provide attention to the issues that we are dealing with. And so that's why, as a candidate, I consider myself, a candidate from the Greater Harlem Coalition community, frankly, because that's going to be my focus. And if you look on my webpage and you see my platform, it's going to be very similar to the things that the Greater Harlem Coalition are looking to achieve, because I am a member. And so it's not really, I mean, obviously, I have not been as active as I'd like to be, but I have been a member and a fan for years. And I hope I said your name right. Is it Abasi? If not,
You got it right the first time.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. First,
Yes,
how many people are running for council, and what sets you above the rest?
12 people to my knowledge. And I think that my experience, both professionally and in the community, working with various organizations for the improvement of Harlem, not just recently, but since I got out of Howard University in 1988 and started working at Harlem Dowling. Harlem has been my focus for my entire life and my family's life. So one of the things that I think is going to set me apart upon viewing what I have on the webpage is you'll see that it's not like a politician's where I'm making a lot of promises about things that I cannot deliver on. My feet are firmly in the ground in terms of what I can do, what my abilities are, and my commitment to the people of Harlem, because I live here, my family lives here. I have a very big stake in what happens in this community. So for instance, when you have those walkthroughs or walk-ons, and when you have people come and they're looking at the various drug transactions that are going on and the people that are milling about, that's something that's very familiar to me, not just because I'm a resident of the community, but because I was in law enforcement for years doing active drug enforcement. I was an undercover for 3 years and became a detective because I bought a lot of drugs. And so I'm very familiar with that world from the enforcement perspective and from the issues that come out of that problem. And so I'm very clear-eyed and uncompromised in terms of what I want to do to mitigate it, to make it go away. I need a safe community that is free of the types of problems that are avoidable and unsustainable.
Thank you.
This is Anna Jones. I'm a public defender in Harlem, and I just wanted to say, first of all, I appreciate you joining this meeting, but I found your response to the most recent question frankly disgusting. If this is a community that is so important to you, I'm not sure how you think you will be able to serve it from such an intensely law and order perspective. And,
Okay. Well,
and also, just one other thing. What problem are you referring to specifically? And how do you intend to get rid of, quote, that problem?
okay. Well, if I offended you, that was not my intent at all. And I think because of my background in law enforcement, it's easy to think that that's what I think is the first thing to do or the only thing to do. The reality is that before I was in law enforcement, I was a caseworker in Harlem dealing with families and trying to reunify children.
I'm actually a public defender for parents who have been separated from their children.
Okay, so I spent years in that line of work. So I don't think that law enforcement is the first line of correcting a situation that is a lot more complex than simply open air drug markets and an overabundance of individuals who are coming to our community from other places for addiction treatment. The problem I was talking about or referring to was the oversaturation of addiction services in Harlem. Harlem as a community is really not well represented if all of these programs are concentrated in our community instead of spread out fairly to the communities that need those services. We are suffering from a result of this concentration, which has not been adequately addressed or dealt with. So the people that are addicted are not the problem. The problem is the concentration of those programs in our community. I'm not interested in vilifying people who are addicted to drugs. That is a public health issue. But when it becomes a public safety issue for the residents of this community, because of the systemic, historic issues where our community is not treated the same as others, that is where I think there needs to be leadership, and it needs to be succinct and focused on correcting this problem. I don't know if I answered your question entirely. I hope at least partially, but I am not a one-dimensional individual. I really, truly, and deeply care about this community, the residents that live here, and I want to represent it in a way that benefits everyone.
If I can interrupt, the young lady who was speaking before, you're a public defender, is that correct?
I am a public defender, yep.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When was, and if it's personal, you don't have to answer me. When was the last time have you ever been in the street, not in a professional capacity, to see what exactly is going on within the drug trade?
On 27th in Madison, so every day.
Okay, well, I live between 126 and 127 in Madison. That's not the drug check that I'm talking about. I'm going to tell you exactly, and then I am an advocate of good people, and he doesn't know it, but I happen to know Dr. Taylor. It's been a long time. And from my point of view, not only does he bring the educational background that so many people think makes them an expert what goes on that street, but he comes from a perspective that many people do not understand. You do not eradicate the drug problem. It has been here since the early 1900s. We cannot eradicate it. But being an undercover in NYPD, you see more than your share. You see what goes on in the homes of the addicted, that you cannot by any means blame them. But the victims are the children. The victims are the grandmothers and the great-grandmothers who are now raising their children because they have situations that they cannot get out of and do jail time. Many times, public offenders, they have not totally looked at the whole situation of that client. A lot of times, the caseloads, they're very huge. So I'm not like coming down on you. But I will defend this gentleman because I do know him. This is not someone who's just coming from, oh, I have this degree and that degree. I know him on a personal level, and I know what he said is true. I don't, at this point, in the way the atmosphere of the politics are, how can anyone get through when I watch each and every day our children, especially in the Bronx, who are dying. You can say what you want to say, but these are the games. I saw 7 female city council women, and they only did one report, and not in any other station where they went, hell, whoa, wait a minute. Who said to fund the police? Who said that? We didn't say that. The people who keep saying that don't live in our community. Their children are dying. You go from 277 shootings a prior year to over 1,200. You need someone not only who says, and please forgive me, I hope I'm not insulting you, saying you as a public defender. Yes, thank God, because I realize in a lot of states they don't even have public defenders. So please, I hope you're not taking this personally. It's just the way that I speak. But I know this gentleman, and he doesn't even know who I am right now. He is credible, and he brings a different perspective than other people, because other people just think, oh, it's just like television. You risk your life. There must be a reason why you come from a situation where you graduated from Howard, and then you did casework, and then you became a police officer. I think that is a well-rounded perspective that I have not seen in the city council a long time. And there's certain people in the city council, I know they care. Ayala cares, okay? Our borough president cares. But politics always gets in the way, and that is life. But I'm going to shortcut, but I'm saying this is the type of person I am. When I know someone's coming with the truth, then I'm coming with the truth. And Keith, this is Mo, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mo. I appreciate it. And if it's all right, if I can call you Antoinette, I am a person who listens. I'm not interested in having my words offend people. I'm interested in coming to solutions to problems that affect us all, and doing so in a way that where everyone wins. When you vilify people, you really are not able to address the problem. When you're able to help them, you are helping yourself. And so I'm not interested in kicking someone who's down, but I am interested in making sure that we are able to retain the safety and security of our community. And I think we can do both. I think we have enough capacity to do more for those who obviously need help, but also keep our streets secure and safe. This is where I've been my entire life. I've not changed. I will continue to be so. I'm running for city council, not because I want a career in politics and then run for another office 4 years or 2 years from now. I'm not interested in that. I'm coming in specifically because I've got experience and preparation as emergency manager, crisis manager, law enforcement, public safety, education. And I think that those skills would be helpful in the position of City Council for District 9. So I'm interested in conversations with you, Antoinette. I'm not interested in offending you.
I am not easily offended because I'm
Okay,
for all day
well,
by, but
understood.
the sentiment. Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to have a conversation with you.
Thank you.
I am a little bit surprised by your background in law enforcement, considering where we're at in terms of civil rights right now. So I'm a little bit surprised. So I would be interested to hear more about how you feel comfortable with representing people who have been over policed with that background.
Oh, because I don't think that police, law enforcement is necessarily a bad thing. I think that it's necessary to have law enforcement as a part of the community. They're needed. We need good law enforcement in our community to keep us safe. However, we definitely don't need to be abused. We don't need abuse of authority. We are already kicked in so many different ways. Systemically, individually, that the last thing we want is for the people that we ask for help to hurt us or our children. I spent a number of years in internal affairs addressing police abuse, as well as, I was in the emergency service unit, SWAT team. I was a policy analyst for a couple of years. I was also on the federal side, a planning team manager for FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Team, of which there are 28 in the country that provide search and rescue efforts for very large incidents. If you look on my webpage, you'll see a law enforcement legacy page where it talks about the link between myself and my cousin, who was one of the founders, charter members of the Guardians Association, which fought valiantly against discrimination within the police department from its founding in the 40s up to the present day. And so there's a strong tradition of African Americans and people of color in general in law enforcement fighting from within to make that organization act appropriately, both internally as well as externally. And so as a professor at John Jay, I often speak, to reporters about issues of police practices and proper procedures. And it all comes down to what is acceptable behavior for a police officer to exhibit when dealing with the public. If they are corrupt, if they are racist, if they are this, the inappropriate things, they should not be on the police force. And there should be protections that are within the police department to get rid of individuals that are frankly liabilities and a disgrace to the profession, liabilities to the agency and the city that they serve, and a disgrace to the profession. So I know full well, as an African-American male, as a Harlem resident, as a father of a 13-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter, as a 23-year veteran of the police department, with relatives going back generations prior in that profession, I think intimately the issues and problems that NYPD present to this community. And I know I'll be laser focused in addressing those because of my background, because of my experience. I'm not an outsider looking in. I can't be fooled that easily.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else who has some comments or questions?
Yes, I would like to, this is Magda Terer. I would like to ask you, thank you for the presentation, your thoughtful responses. I would like to ask you about the type of resources you'd fight for our community in the city council level, beyond, the ideas that you've expressed, but specifically the resources that we need in Harlem.
Okay, so there are certain things that sort of stand out as historical issues that need immediate attention. One of them is the poor state of our public schools and the lack of supports that are in place to allow them to provide the appropriate education that our children need. We cannot continue as a community to be frankly, a community to corrections pipeline. That has to stop immediately. It requires radical help in order to do it. As an emergency manager, I know full well that when a community is suffering from a severe issue, you pour the proper resources and attention to address that issue. And that has not happened, for a lot of reasons. Knowing the history of the city and the country, we've had systemic discrimination that has helped shape our neighborhoods, that helps shape the incomes of the people that live in these communities and the resources available to them. It's happening now with COVID. I don't want to go all over the place, but in terms of resources, we need a lot of resources to deal with the severe issues that are both a part of the poverty that exists, but also address other issues that help contribute to the poverty that the community suffers from. Housing, affordable housing, and also making the affordable housing we have livable. There are many people who suffer in our community. Thousands of people suffer in our community from substandard housing, public housing, and others. And that environment, which is so harmful to their health and their children's health, is not something that we should simply ignore and act as if it's okay. It's not, it never has been. So I will be looking at getting the resources necessary to correct the systemic issues around substandard housing, substandard education, and also making certain that we have opportunities not just for young people, but for the adults that require employment that is not dead end or low paying, but is a start to more secure and stable lives. One of the things that I would look to do that is by expanding green energy, a green energy economy, frankly, which I think is very much doable and absolutely needed, and can provide an economic engine that we're going to need in order to really sort of sustain the troubling times that are ahead, economic times that is, after
Thank you
we
so much.
are able to recover from this pandemic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I take too long making my point, but I really have a lot to say, and I don't want to miss much.
It's good, much better than just talking points and snippets. So thank you for your thoughtful responses.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, well, thank you, by the way, Antoinette, for your thoughtful comments and for the dialogue with Keith, and I hope that you two can continue this later on in another way. That's just great. Appreciate that. And Keith, thank you so much for coming out. Keith has been a fantastic neighbor and friend, and I was just so excited to have him available to come on this evening. I know you had a previous engagement, which is why the order got a little changed there. But thank you so much, Keith, for coming out. I've put your website into the chat there, but it's pretty easy to remember, tailormadeforharlem.com. Is there anything else you want to just mention before we call it an evening?
Yeah, I'm actually just trying to send my email. There we go. There it is. So it's my email address. It goes right to my cell phone, and I will be able to quickly call you or converse with you and talk to you about issues that you are concerned about. That's what I see my job and my role is, to work for the community and not just, platitudes or just, empty statements.
Right. Well, listen, thank you so much once again. Thank you everyone for coming out. And there's a lot to digest here. It turned out to be a very interesting evening that had this theme of children and families, and I had not planned on that, but it sort of wove its way through. Have a great evening. Please be safe, be careful, hold your loved ones close, and we will reconvene in March at our March meeting. So thanks very much and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
night.
Everyone,
Thank
Take
you.
care.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dawn.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.